Alrighty, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to attend this webinar and learn a little more about our process. My name is Dino Delides, and I'm going to go into the SSQ insurance flow, if you will, from once we have submitted an application and it is in our system, what actually happens, where does it go, some tips and tricks to help you along the way, and essentially how to put these cases through and get them in force as fast as possible. So today we're going to go ahead with an agenda here. First things first, we will have some just quick updates about SSQ and the current events that are happening in our world here. We have how to access the secure site, and then we'll go into some navigation. So it'll be Ingenium and LifeSuite, followed by a plan of action to help you through once we understand how to use the tools available and where to send responses if you're asked for anything additional throughout the underwriting process. And assuming that a contract is delivered, how to navigate that contract, how to settle the policy, and what is important about that contract, and how to put it in force and get paid. So we're going to take you from beginning to end, open to close sort of a flow to really learn how to benefit from everything we've got for you, and the tips and tricks that we have available for you. We'll make sure that you understand them and how to use them effectively. Alrighty, so just a quick update on SSQ Insurance. And so many of you have heard in January of 2020, a merger of equals was announced, SSQ Insurance and La Capitale. And this is essentially an equal partnership merger. There will be a new name coming up shortly that we'll announce towards the end of this year, beginning of next. And it'll be really great. Essentially, it'll be a best of both worlds type of scenario. And as we move forward, they'll definitely take the good stuff from either company as we head into this new company here. So the largest mutual is the current name. As we go into the new company next year with our new name. So with that, the merger of equals has created a large company here, just under 5,000 employees, over 3.5 million members and clients. That makes this largest mutual the 6th personal insurer in Canada, 7th in seg funds, and more than 20 billion in assets under management. So, very vast, largest mutual company as we head through to the final name here. So Jean-Francois Chalafaux, he is our CEO of SSQ Insurance, and he will be maintaining that position as we head into the new company. So very exciting, really happy to have him as our leader. And also very cool, something to show how vested we are in this industry. And Jean-Francois himself is the fact that he's appointed chair of the board of directors of the Canadian Life and Health Insurance Association. So really great to see us not only having a great company with great products, but we're also vested very deeply into the industry to make sure, of course, that we're dealing with all our stakeholders correctly and everyone is super satisfied with what we're doing. So that is really great to see. So some new products here. Now this presentation will be based on the traditional line of products and how to navigate that as we were talking underwriting today. But this is a new product that's come out through the summer to SSQ, which is the new simplified and guarantee issue products. So we are pushing the fact that our electronic application can deliver a policy in 60 minutes or less. So it's very competitive in its pricing, and it's compatible for 100% non-face-to-face sales. So essentially, this e-app can be done face-to-face or non-face-to-face. All the questions are done through the application, and there's an MIB check done to cross-reference the answers for all those. And essentially, it's issued on the spot. The money's taken right away, and the advisor is also paid on the spot too. So paid daily, which is really great. Now, our simplified products, our T10, 20, and whole life are for healthy clients. that want quick non-medical insurance. And then we have our guaranteed issued whole life for the hard to insure. And as we look down here, we have our SSQ calculator. And this is essentially where we can get our quotes from. So our normal illustration software would be for the traditional products, and this online calculator here for our non-traditional, being the simplified and guaranteed. Okay, so now that we've got through a bit of an update here and everyone understands where we are, let's go ahead and continue on and look to see how we can benefit and get these cases closed. So, how to access this SSQ secure site. So the secure site, otherwise known as back office, I'll use them interchangeably throughout the presentation, is essentially where we go. It's our hub, it's the advisor hub, where they can get any and all information to do with their clients and their business. So how to get there? We are getting access through ssq.ca. We're clicking login and then advisor, and then clicking through to individual insurance. And this will bring up the access to our back office for the individual insurance products. Now the username will have the following structure. It'll be SSQC followed by 6 digits in capitals. Now this is included in the welcome package with contracting that you would have done way back when you contracted with SSQ. So you could also reach out to our sales support team or our sales team if you have any trouble locating that username. So should you have that, it's all good in Chrome. That is the best way to access the back office, would be Chrome. And with Chrome, you'll be able to access and use all of the tools and features that are inside. So now that we know how to get in, let's go ahead and take a look at the guts of the back office now. So these two softwares are the ones that you will use most at SSQ, Ingenium and LifeSuite. They are the softwares that will be able to tell you everything that you need to know about a policy after and before, as well as during underwriting. So firstly, Ingenium. Ingenium is the software that is embedded in the back office that has the ability to give you any and all information about its policy. You can see all its details with just a few easy clicks. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like here. So here's the main page of the SSQ back office, the secure site. So we will see this several times throughout the presentations as we learn everything around it, how to use it to our advantage. So right in the dead center here, that's Ingenium. So as we go ahead further in, I'm just going to click right on Ingenium, and then we'll be able to dive in and see what that actually looks like. So as I've clicked on the Ingenium icon here, it's opened up another window for me. And on the left here, we can see 3 expansions available. But the top one, Advisor Access, will be the one that you use the most. So firstly, let's look at Client Search. Client Search function here will give you the ability to find a policy number if you don't have that. So the last name is mandatory, but you can always enter in a first name, or if you've got their social number, or a company name if it's corporate. But essentially, we're looking for the owner of the policy, and that's who we're going to search for in order to find our contract number or our policy number. So by entering a last name in here and a first name in here, we'll go ahead and click enter to find out all the people that match under your clients this information that you've searched for. So it won't show you completely everything in the entire company, just your business, of course. So as we hit enter, we'll be able to see a list that has come below of where we entered in our information. Now, this is a real access of an advisor that's currently contracted with SSQ and has current business. So we've just blacked out some important information to keep things confidential. But with this search, I've got several possibilities of people that this may have matched to. So we can cross-reference things like, their full name here, date of birth, their address, and that sort of a thing. But where we want to actually click on is contracts. So by clicking on this hyperlink contracts right here, we'll be able to see a list of all the policies underneath this person's name that owns them. So for example, if there's a father, has one for himself, a wife, and a couple kids, then there'll essentially be 4 policies listed under there, should they all be separate, of course, just to give you an idea. So if I click on this hyperlink contracts here to go further in, we're going to go ahead and find our contract number, our policy number. Now there'll be 9 digits followed by 2 zeros. The 2 zeros we don't care about. So these 9 digits here, it could be a letter too, so I should say characters. So these 9 characters will be your policy ID, the policy number, the contract number, all of those names used interchangeably. So now that we've discovered what our contract number is, we can take a deeper look into the actual policy to find out all the information that we need. So now that we use the client search to figure out the policy number, or if you've already had it by your record keeping, then we can use the policy details button. So I haven't changed our advisor access. We're still under the advisor access here at the top left column. But now I'm going to policy details. So policy details will give us all the information that we could possibly ask for in a policy. So I'm going to take that contract number, that policy number, and I'm going to plug it in here without any commas or spaces or anything like that, our 9 characters, and I'll go ahead and hit enter. Now, this tool, the reason why it's so great is all the information that you're able to gather. Now, the page is very long, so I'll just shorten it by telling you some information that you can gather by going and using Ingenium for policy details. So some information that we can gather are client info, status info, billing info, coverage info, and maybe even investment info if it's a UL. So what can this tell me? Oops. All right, so what can this tell me? Address and phone. For example, if you're trying to reach your client or if you want to know if their address has been updated correctly. Is it in force? Did it lapse? They miss a payment? Or is it trying to get settled and the payment hasn't been taken yet? So it is not in force. Is it not paid? So if we're looking at billing info, we can see the premium amount. Is it annually or monthly? If it's a UL, then we can see what the minimum is, what the sundry amount is. If we're looking at coverage info, we can tell, if it's life, is it DI, CI? What are the face amounts? Is it level or increasing? Is there a face amount adjustment on this UL? So all those can be answered there by looking at the policy details page in Ingenium. And not to mention, if it is that UL we brought up briefly here, we can see the funds that it's currently invested in, the allocations. We can see the cash values, any monies being transferred back and forth. And we can all do that by either leaving it to the current date of quotation or specifying any day in the past using this date format if we want to look as of a certain day. For example, if you're trying to look at how the investments are going. So now that we've understood Ingenium, we learned how to find a policy number. We learned how to use that policy number to bring up all the details about a policy. Now let's go ahead and look at we're going to look at LifeSuite here. So LifeSuite, in my opinion, is the best tool in the box. This allows you to follow a case through underwriting. But more importantly, it allows you to get as close as possible to the underwriter. So if the underwriter is requesting more information from you, this is where they will communicate that to you. So here is our SSQ Secure site, our back office. And right next to Ingenium here, we have our LifeSuite button. Now by clicking further into LifeSuite, this is what it looks like. Now again, real access, real advisor, real cases. So I've just blacked out some important information to keep things confidential. But as we start from the left here, we see the case number, also known as the policy number, the advisor's code, the applicant being the owner of this policy. We have the case status, who the underwriter is, application number, which is another way that our back office manages and searches. And we've got our application date. So some important things to understand here are, one being the case number on the far left side. By clicking on that policy number is how we actually dive further in. But one thing I want to draw our attention to before I go there is our case status. So the case status will typically be one or two things. Either pending, meaning that it is still in underwriting, or closed, Closed is not a bad thing. It simply just means that a decision has been made and the underwriting process is complete. So as I mentioned before, to go further in, let's go ahead and click right on our policy number, our case number right up here. So by clicking on that, we get to dive further in. So first thing at the very top left here, we have select an applicant. Now don't forget to switch between the applicant's lives if there are multiple on the policy. There will always be separate underwriting for however many lives there are in this policy. So we see three sections as we go down the left side of the page here. Requirements at the top, coverages, then notes. We will take a deeper look into the meaning behind the status in the requirements section soon. But the most important detail in this entire page is the notes section. So this note section will be where the underwriter will talk to you. If there's a questionnaire required, it will be added in the requirement listing section up here, and then the underwriter will also write a note to you describing why it is needed, which questionnaire is needed, and when to get it in by us, when to get it in to us by. It'll also tell you a couple different ways that you can get this done too. So, if there is a additional information requirement added in our requirement section up here, then we must make it a habit to come down and check the notes section to see what that is, because additional information required simply means a question. So if we see that, then we know to come down to the notes section to see what specific question that may be. Now, for example, what did the doctor tell you on your last visit? Or please clarify at what age a client was diagnosed. Just to name a couple that it could be. But all in all, it's just a clarification from the underwriter. So, point I'm trying to make here is that we must come to the requirements section and then follow that with a checkup on the notes section below to see what exactly is being asked and if there's anything that can be done by you and your client. So for the requirements section, here are several things that it may say. Open, meaning no action has been taken whatsoever. Ordered, meaning that SSQ has placed that order for you. For example, if you've done an electronic app, SSQ would have placed those medicals for you through Dynacare. So that's a possibility. If it says canceled, then for whatever reason, the underwriter has decided that that requirement is no longer necessary and it's been canceled. And if it says satisfied, then we know that the requirement was received and acknowledged by the underwriter. Now, satisfied doesn't mean good or bad. It just means that it has been received by the underwriter. So let's check back on this page now, taking further note of the requirements section. But now we're just going to check the status here. And we're also going to have a look at when they were added. So if you see a new requirement come on the list, and the status tells you that either it's your responsibility or no action's been taken, we can double check by when it was added to see if it was done recently. We just have to ask ourselves this question, is this something that is now my responsibility, the advisor's responsibility, to go ahead and do? Is it additional information and it's simply a question put in the notes down here that you need to get us an answer for? Or is it a questionnaire that we need to now go out, grab the questionnaire, have it filled out with the client and sent in? So all in all, very important to come in and check the requirements section, following by the status, when it was added, and always finishing by checking the notes, because there will very likely be a note correlated to each requirement as it's added. So looking at this page one last time, I want to look at the middle section now, coverages. So should there be a decision made, we see that right here in disposition. Now I've got one for life and one for critical illness, should there be multiple coverages that the client's applying for. So we can check both by looking at the disposition here. But once we see a decision, regardless of what that decision is, we must always, again, check the notes section. So a very common trend here of checking the notes section. So there could be a rating if it's approved, or if it says deferred or declined, there will always be a message from the underwriter in the notes section below to advise you what exactly happened. So if it's standard, then maybe there won't even be a note. But for example, if it's rated, there will always be a reason why and a request that you and your client let SSQ know if they want this policy or not. If it's deferred or declined, there will always be a note down here from the underwriter explaining why, as well as a timeline that they can apply again. Now, it's standard procedure that if there's a decline or deferral, the information is sent to the doctor on file to have a conversation with the client to disclose whatever that reason may be. And the important thing is to always come down and check this note section below. Very important to do that. So here are a list of requirements that you may see for your case in LifeSuite. So the top 5 here, most frequently we just have to let the provider and the insurer handle this. If there's a med share, then we can definitely go for that. But all in all, these are things that need to usually be gathered and done professionally by the nurse, the provider, and the insurer. Now, looking at these bottom 4 here, this is where we have a chance to help. So for the paramedical and the tele-interview, if you must order it or it's been placed for you and it's taking too long, then we do have a backup plan for you, and we will show you how to get this in a few slides. So these last 2 here, the questionnaires being medical or non-medical, we'll learn where to find those. And additional information required, those questions from the underwriter, we will learn where to send those answers. So all in all, these last 4 here, we do have an opportunity to help out, and we can, in some cases, help to fast track these results. So that will essentially help get this case through the door and closed. So let's go ahead and learn how to do some of this. But first, I just want to take a quick look once more time at this LifeSuite portal. Getting really used to it and the structure of coming in, checking the requirements, checking the status of those requirements, following the notes section. The notes section is our final destination here, always making sure that we check the notes section. If we see that everything under status has been satisfied, we see our decision come here in our coverage section, and we are again making sure that we check notes to make sure that we understand exactly what happened. And then just a quick reminder to flip between your lives if there are multiple on this policy. All right, so now that we've gotten used to Ingenium, finding the policy number, looking at the details in the policy details screen with that policy number, we've also taken a look at LifeSuite, how to follow a case through underwriting. Let's now see our action plan. Those tips and tricks I was telling you about with helping the paramedical and the tele-interview through if it's taking too long, and where to send the questionnaires and answers to any questions that you may have gotten through the underwriting process. So one important to know before we leap forward is the SSQ electronic application is something that is automatically ordered for you in regards to medicals. So if there's any medicals needed, DynaCare will automatically receive those requests and start to call your client and book those appointments. So it's automatically retrieved once it's ready as well. So that's pretty seamless. And with the paper apps or PDF applications, the advisor is responsible for ordering the medicals themselves, and they must communicate the provider and the order number to our new business team so that they can retrieve those once they're finished ready. All right, so we're going to look into questionnaires first. So oftentimes there will be maybe a travel questionnaire asked during COVID. That's a really popular one. So we're going to learn where to find those. And also Section IJK. Now, Section IJK, this is our backup plan that we were talking about. This is our backup plan for outstanding paramedicals and tele-interviews. So we're going to go ahead and look how to find that, how to use it, and where to send both of these things. So firstly, questionnaires. Now on the left side, I've got my secure back office here. And on the right, we have our illustration software. Now, these are 2 places that you are able to find the questionnaires. So on the left, starting with our secure site, I'm just going to zoom in on our menu here that's within the site on the left side. And as you can see, by clicking on underwriting, we have the opportunity to click on questionnaires. Now in there will be a list of medical and non-medical questionnaires. Now they are in PDF, they're fillable, downloadable, savable, printable, whatever you choose. So very easy to access them there. And secondly, if we look at our library in the illustration software, so by clicking on our library button here to open up my list, we can clearly see bullet number 8 is forms and questionnaires. So by expanding this file out as well in PDF, you have access to all these medical and non-medical questionnaires that would have been asked by the underwriter. And how did you find that out? Through following the case through underwriting in the LifeSuite software. So here's the second place that you can come and grab these fillable PDFs. All right, so now we're going to learn about Section IJK. Now this is the piece that can be used as the replacement for the paramedical and the tele-interview. So all it is the medical and lifestyle questions that are from the application. So you can get it from the paper application or the PDF of the application in the illustration software. However you get this, you must write the policy number directly on the document. So very important to just make sure that the policy number is written on the document so that once it's sent in to us, it's very easy to understand what you're doing so that we can process this for you as fast as possible. So the paper apps you can get from your MGA or by asking our sales team to mail you some physical copies, or the PDF of the app can be downloaded or opened in fillable PDF format from right inside the illustration software. So there it is, insurance application. So here is what Section IJK looks like. It's straight from the application, Section I being lifestyle, J being medical, and K is not here, but K is simply just a blank page for any additional information or explanation if necessary. So this entire section, and even if it's empty, we must include K as well, very clearly writing on the top corner of each document, each page, our policy number, so that it's super easy for our team to process this for you. So as a reminder where to find it, either in the paper app, PDF app, or we can pull it right out of the document. So any way that you get it from our sales team, MGA, illustration software, as long as it is just those pages isolated, we can take that with a very clear writing of the policy number on each document. So we've figured out where to find the questionnaires. We understand that Section IJK is simply just the medical and lifestyle questions from the application. Should you, the advisor, feel comfortable to answer those with the client, we can use that to replace the paramedical and tele-interview. So we've also learned that additional information required is simply just a question. So if we have answers, or if we have the questionnaires filled out, or Section IJK filled out, where do we send these responses? To our info new business team. Now that email very clearly up here for you all is info.newbusiness@ssqinsurance.ca. So please CC your MGA, and in the subject line, very clearly the policy number and the reason for the email. So for example, policy number, questionnaire, or policy number, answering additional information required, or policy number, Section IJK. So you get the idea. As long as we have very clearly a CC to the MGA, our policy number and what we're doing, and make sure that we've got our email correct, we're all good to go. Okay, so now that we know where to send all that information, let's assume that the hard work is done. You've diligently checked LifeSuite, followed the case through its underwriting, and SSQ has approved and issued the policy. So now let's take a look at the contract. We're going to see what's important in the contract, what's common in the contract, and some ways to efficiently put this into force. But Really, we're just going to make sure that everyone understands what to do and how to do it. Reports. So the report section can be found in our back office. So here it is again, starting to look very familiar. So at the top right, we have our reports section. Now, once you click into the reports section, it is a very easy to read list of PDF documents that can be opened and downloaded. And within each document is a various amount of information. So let's take a look at what that could be like. So these reports benefit the advisor in many different ways. So some reports that are available in the system are total in-force business report. So a list of all the clients and the info of what's in force at that time. Annual and weekly commission statements, what was paid to you on each policy, each commission. A lapse study. When did it lapse and what payment was missed, how much? And then annual statements as well, for example, if there was a UL on its anniversary. But in this context, as we look at policy issue and settling requirements, we are looking at that document here, because in this context, this is what we care about right now, issuing and settling policies. So let's take a look at what the policy issue and settling requirement document may look like. So on this document, as of the date of the document, it will list all of the policies that are issued contracts but are not yet put into force. So with each policy listed on the left, it will indicate the name of the owner, and we've got the policy number as well. But more importantly, it's got the list of all that's needed to settle the policy. So in this particular case, we have file processing, specimen check, and first premium. So all that means is that the file needs to be processed, for the void check needs to be received, and they need to take that money for the first premium in order to put it into force. So, for example, if there was additional requirements like an exclusion that needed to be acknowledged in order to settle, or an unsigned UL illustration, for example, that would be in this list here. So this is definitely a quick and easy way to get an idea of all that's required for everything that is issued contracts but not yet in force. So with that little tip trick behind us, let's look at the settling requirements now and what it actually looks like when it comes to you guys. So the contract. So firstly, it'll have a cover page. It'll have the offer and the premium required in your advisor's info, followed by the settling requirements, a checklist for what is needed to put it into force. Now, commonly needed is a first premium or a specimen check, an amendment, disclosures, and sometimes special offers. If there's an exclusion as well, that will be included as well, but not so common. So let's take a look now at the cover page and see what this all looks like. So here's the cover page. It's a simple written offer to convey the key points. We've got our info at the top here, premium required, and we've got the advisor info below, also with their contact info. Now we've got some policy services phone numbers with SSQ as well, but ideally you'll be dealing with your advisor and client relationship when going over and settling this. So for the settling requirements checklist, here's what that looks like. We'll always have the policy number at the very top here, followed by a closing date well in advance to give everyone enough time to get these documents back to SSQ and put it into force. So down the left side, all that is indicated with an X in the checkbox is what we have to return back to SSQ. So we've got a special offer down here, but starting at the top, we have our first premium payment, which is very common. We've got our specimen check or our void check. We have our amendment to the application and our declaration of insurability. So some very common things in here. Now, if there's documents to be signed and returned, for example, the amendment or the declaration, there will likely be 2 copies in there, one for yourself and one to return back. Now, for the items that are just simply missing in terms of specimen check or void check, for example, not included in this package, it just simply means that we need it in order to settle the policy. So a copy from the client would be perfect. So that is the checklist for settling requirements. Now let's take a look at the amendment and disclosure. Now, very common part of the settling requirements. So let's take a look at what that is like. The amendment outlines any changes made during the application. So this is through the underwriting process. If any questions or any additional documents were requested by the underwriter, this would all be listed in here as part of the changes throughout the underwriting process so that everyone is on the same page. For the declaration of insurability, this allows the client to indicate material changes to their health and financial status. For example, if between the time of the application and accepting the offer, there is sudden travel plans that they may have not had before, or they lost their job, or they caught COVID. All these things are important to convey in this declaration of insurability. And another thing this allows you to do is policy current dating. Now, policy current dating allows the client to bring the issue date to the signature date of that document. So SSQ does it so that the issue date is the decision date of the underwriter. So we know it takes us some time to get all the documents back and signed and put into force. So it can be a surprise when they start paying from the decision date rather than the date that they signed this document. So we can definitely current date this policy using this feature to bring the policy date up to the date of this signature. So they start paying from that date rather than having a surprise of paying two payments from their first time. Now, one thing I just want to make sure everyone understands is SSQ uses age nearest. So we can just make sure that we understand that by bringing the date forward, it may have a possibility to change the insurance age of the client. All right, so here's the amendment and declaration. Now, as I mentioned on the amendment, we have all of the additional information gathered through the underwriting process listed here for everyone to understand and be on the same page about, followed by our declaration of insurability. Now, it starts off with, material changes, that sort of thing. We've got our COVID disclosures here as well. And then on our next page, here is our couple empty lines, an opportunity to outline anything that's changed from the time of the application, as I mentioned. And then we have right here is our policy current dating. So as it reads, it brings the policy issue date up to the signature date of this document. So if it's taken some time to get the settling requirements back, there is a chance of having two premiums come out for the first time, should that be, almost a month apart. It is quite a process, so we understand it takes time. So this opportunity allows the payment to start from this signature date so that there's no surprises, which is great. Now, the only thing is bringing the policy issue date forward may have an effect on the insurance age because SSQ uses age nearest. So we just got to make sure we understand when that 6-month mark is. All right, so now we understand the through and through. We've got the back office. We've got policy details with Ingenium, following the case through underwriting with LifeSuite. We've understood where our questionnaires are, where to find our Section IJK to help replace the paramedical and tele-interview. We've got our additional information required, which is simply just questions, looking for answers. We've seen that we send it all to our Info New Business team. So for the settling requirements, that is all going to be sent to the same place, our Info New Business team. So we have here, Info New Business at ssqinsurance.ca, making sure to CC your MGA, and in your subject line, making sure that we have our policy number recorded with the reason for the email. And in this case, it would likely be policy number, settling requirements. Simply done. So that concludes our presentation. I just want to say thank you again. This presentation is definitely an exciting one for us as we all want to see you advisors making money and helping families. So thank you so much for taking the time to attend this webinar and learn how to get these cases through the door and closed efficiently and effectively. Now, just to give you some support, we've got our SSQ sales support team available at 1-888-292-8483. They're open from 8:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard, Monday to Friday, and they're also accessible by sales.insinb@ssq.ca. And they can help with access support, web issues, e-app support, and access issues there. So definitely a good place to start should you have any issues at getting into LifeSuite or Ingenium. And lastly, we have our beautiful sales team. So our beautiful countrywide sales team for everyone to go ahead and reach out to the respective advisor so that everyone understands who is who. But should you guys need any support, everyone is ready to help you one-on-one. So with that, I conclude, and I thank you again so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.